AI replacing jobs. I don't think it does. I think you need to have the right people and equip them with the AI skills. And a really skilled person, AI, it's like it's giving them a turbo button, not taking over, it's making it better.
Hi everyone, welcome to the AI Marketing Show. My name is Isabel Bedoya, and I'm here today with our guest Heather from Beasting Digital. So before we get started, Heather is a lead generation and demand generation expert, and she also specializes in AI. And today we're going to talk about prompt engineering, and we're going to focus a little bit on how to use prompts on ChatGPT, how to, especially around like LinkedIn, how to actually build a correct prompt, and then and we'll do live demos around that. So before we get started, Heather, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me, Izzy.
Of course. No, thank you for being here. So just so everyone can get a little bit of a background, what do you like, just starting with like the basics, what do you do at Beasting Digital?
Oh, yeah. So we work with the business. So we work with generally tech companies, finance companies, legal companies, and we build funnels for them. So AI and automation enriched funnels. And then we create the content. So marketing funnels, we create content for each stage of the funnel. Then we also do a quite high-end lead generation as well, more for sort of tech and aerospace type companies as well. And that's sort of a combination of AI, automation, ABM, LinkedIn. There's all sorts of things going on. So kind of like modern marketing, basically, future-focused marketing.
Wow, that's amazing. How did you get into doing that?
Marketing I've been in for a really, really long time. I worked in legal marketing for 13 years. And then I got a marketing degree, which actually didn't really do much, I don't think. But then going into AI, I started my own business three years ago. And it just made sense. It was in marketing. And then going into AI was probably about 8.5 months ago when I saw the kind of beginnings of ChatGPT coming out. And I thought, oh, right, okay, this is an opportunity to make my agency really stand out and really give myself a competitive advantage. So I thought, right, I'm going to completely immerse myself. And I have every single day, literally every single day, at least 2 or 3 hours every day, including Christmas Day, just testing things, prompting, trying out tools, learning. I'm very non-technical, so it's been, a big, steep learning curve. And then the idea is that I kind of democratize AI, trying to, translate anything technical into really easy, simple language so that anybody can understand and anybody can give it a go.
Absolutely. That's really interesting. And I remember seeing this, and I don't know if you'd like to share a little bit more about this, but I remember you posted this a few weeks ago or maybe a few months ago around your schedule of how you were actually spending time intentionally every day to learn AI.
Yeah. No, so I get up really early anyway. I've always been a bit of an early bird. So I'm up at 5 a.m., which a lot of people will. My dog loves it, so we get to do a nice early walk. But while I'm walking, I'll be listening to podcasts like the ChatGPT report. It's only 10 minutes. It's unfortunately only once a week now, but it's great. Sales AI Revolution, or AI in Sales Revolution, Marketing in AI. There's so many of them now. And I sit and I walk and I listen to those podcasts. And then I'll come in and I'll watch a few YouTube videos. I'll hop onto Reddit, Twitter, all these places. Well, Twitter in particular is slightly ahead of places like LinkedIn as well. TechCrunch is a really good source as well. So I kind of just gather sources and have a play. And then towards the end of the day, so that's the first couple of hours sorted. And then towards the end of the day, when I'm feeling a little bit less into research and more into kind of messing around and playing with things, I'll tend to just pick a tool that I think might be useful. So often it's just, what's going on? What are people talking about? What's the most interesting one? Because there's so many. But when I'm really focused, I'll pick a pain problem that we've got in the company, or me with, launching my own personal brand as well. And I'll see if there's a solution for it AI wise. So I find you just learn a lot. And I think also the best way to learn is to teach other people. So it keeps you on your toes. So I'm running a newsletter every week. So every Sunday I have to make sure that I am up to date on what's going on and know the latest changes. And then I do this newsletter AI for non-techies as well, which helps.
Yeah, I think that is the newsletter is super helpful. It breaks everything down into very easy to understand language. Now, I know you mentioned that you found that there was a opportunity to capitalize on AI 8.5 months ago when you started getting immersed into this. What do you foresee happening? Like, what do you think, a year from now? And I know it's hard to predict because everything moves so fast, but like, what made you think that there was this like area to capitalize on?
I just feel like I've noticed, I looked at all of my processes and I thought, first of all, I can shrink them. I can speed them up, which in itself creates profit. So I can deliver the same or better results, but take a lot less time doing them. And it also removes that kind of human error, that sort of 2 or 3% of human error that just happens all the time. If I've got a system, if AI isn't flawless either, as we found out, but I thought that's one of the first things to do is streamlining my systems and making them clear and organizing myself. And where people are talking about AI replacing jobs, I don't think it does. I think you need to have the right people and equip them with the AI skills, and it prevents new hires for me, as opposed to not all new hires, but it minimizes new hires, as opposed to me taking somebody out of their job and replacing them with a robot. That's not going to happen. But I think when you give a really skilled person AI, it's giving them a turbo button. So we're only a tiny team, and I'm making sure that everybody is as skilled on AI as they possibly can be. And I think that's just going to make a massive difference. There's so many parts of my processes that can be automated or enriched. I like to use the word enrich with AI. I think it's not taking over, it's making it better.
Absolutely. I agree. It's that quote that everyone's saying, AI is not going to replace people. People that know AI are going to replace people.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And when you started implementing AI into like your processes, your business, and everything that you're doing, what were kind of like the main pillars that you started really diving in? Specifically, like getting a little bit more into like prompt engineering. I know you mentioned one of the things is like learning the skills to use AI. So when you started, laid down let's just say you laid down your business on a piece of paper, what pillars did you tackle first?
I think one of the first ones is productivity. I feel like for every small business owner, and probably for bigger business owners, you waste so much of your time doing that kind of busy work, that stuff that could be automated. For example, I love the cool transcription software. So I started off with Otters and Fireflies. I use Sybil, which I think is absolutely amazing. And that's just removed my need now to download recordings from Zoom and put them into the right folder, or write up my notes. It's just so much easier to go back on something that's already recorded, it's already organized. The transcript is near enough okay. Pretty good actually. It's even pulled out pain points for me. That takes an hour out of every single day at least. So productivity was a really big thing for me. And then just the ideation process as well. It's kind of a big part of what we do. We create a lot of content, and we sit there and we brainstorm content ideas and pillars and sub-pillars. And it gave us such amazing tools to be able to do that systematically and in a really organized way. ChatGPT is incredible. I think it was you actually that said this, try and forget about the other AI tools and focus just on getting, mastering ChatGPT 4. And there's so much, it's so much bigger than people realize when they first start checking it out, isn't it? I think
it's so capable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. With ChatGPT 4, a lot of people get stuck in the content marketing side, like write me an email, write me a blog, whatever. But oh my gosh, it is so powerful.
Yeah, well, it's your course that I'm learning so much from. But I think people go straight to content creation, don't they? I think that's what the first thing that people think, and I think a lot of people just think ChatGPT is for content creation, and I think, oh no, that's what it's weakest at. Like that's its weak spot. There's so many. It can create entire businesses, entire business plans. It can implement those business plans. It's just absolutely incredible the things it can do. You could be talking all day and not even cover half of what it can do.
Absolutely. My favorite question around that is usually like, is ChatGPT 4 worth it? Right? It's like a $20 a month investment. And I just see so many people question it, but it's like, if only you knew, like you're paying a human on average, minimum wage $15 per hour, and you're comparing that to like a per month, $20 per month. it's a no-brainer.
It really is. And then, you think you've got at your beck and call, you have an employment lawyer, you have a business consultant, you have content marketing consultants, you have editors, proofreaders, all of them are right there, and they are right in there for
Yep.
it's why would you ever, I say it all the time, but it's the best £20, because it's £20 over here, £20 a month that you spend. Like I would pay 10 times that, probably without thinking. Not that I want to, but definitely.
Absolutely. So let's get a little bit more into like prompt engineering. What have you found in terms of like writing the prompts? What have you found that has been helpful for you? Are there any like particular examples that you would like to share?
Yeah, well, I've got I think something so I teach sort of AI courses as well, just fundamentals of learning sort of prompt engineering, how to prompt ChatGPT. And I find I break it down into these 5 areas. I've always got them. I don't know why they always do. I know what they are. I always have them written down somewhere. So I think characters, context, limitations, output, and style. And I think if you have all of those, even if it's just a couple of words, but if all of those features within a prompt, then you're going to get a reasonable response. And I think the amount of times, and it's driving me crackers, actually seeing a big brands. I've been reading things from, I don't know what's very true, but I'm reading things from very, very big marketing brands, some of the biggest in the world, saying here are our top 10 prompts for this. And I look and I think that's going to give you the most generic response ever. And there's influencers going, here's my top 10 prompts, or here's 100 prompts. And the standard is so low that you just think, if only you knew, because you're going to think, oh, if this big brand has recommended, this is all it can do. But I think having those 5 sections, so characters, so allocating it a role, allocating ChatGPT a role, and yourself a role as well, is also useful to give it that context and get the better answer. Context as well. So what are you going to use it for? So is this part of a marketing plan that, you're planning to get 50 million revenue a year? Look, and I think you taught me that as well, that kind of, I would like to do this within this time. How would you propose I do this? So context, if it's a piece of content, what is that content being used for? Where in the funnel is it? What would you like people to do next after reading it? Who are the audience? I just think when it comes to trying to create content, you need to think of it like a copywriter's brief. It needs to be that detailed. But limitations as well, being aware of the limitations, so what it can't do, that positive and negative prompting as well. There's so much, I won't go on, but and outputs as well. A lot of people think you just get those text outputs, but they don't know that you can create your own panel and have a panel debate and sit there and watch them and start to see a topic from a completely different, so many different perspectives. So sort of think of it as your dream dinner party, kind of get professor in this and I don't know, somebody who's been working in this who's really hypercritical, and give them personalities and watch them debate a topic. That to me really unlocks a lot of ideas around something that I've only got one perspective on. So that's what I'm saying about the idea, why it's so good for ideation. And then style as well. So tone of voice, and yeah, just being very, very specific, which I think tone of voice is quite hard to describe even for marketers. I think everybody's says warm, friendly, enthusiastic, professional, all of the same words. So there's a way, and I can show you an example that I've found to get quite an accurate version of your tone of voice using ChatGPT. So I can show you that if you like.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. And you're right about that, which is why I'm super excited to be talking to you today, because there are a lot of, I have seen this too, there are a lot of like big named brands and influencer coaches, etc. And they're literally just saying like the prompts that they're sharing is like, write me a TikTok, or like, write me a blog post. And it's like, if only you knew how much more direction you have to give it to actually get quality.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that you brought that up. Let's do a live demo if you're up for it. And yeah.
So we've got this this playbook called How to Use ChatGPT to write LinkedIn posts. And I won't go through the whole of it because it is a really big, dense thing. But I wanted to show you just one. So it's just as an overview, it's got these 5 parts. So like you were just saying, people would generally start with, write me a LinkedIn post on this. And they might even say, I am this person. It doesn't give anywhere near enough context. It doesn't know your tone of voice properly. It doesn't know the pain points of your audience, who they are, what they do. And it's not stemmed from any strategic idea around the funnel or anything. So there are these 5 different stages. These 4 are prompts. So tone of voice, pain points, post ideas, and edit the results are prompts. But the draft post creation, that's down to you, because like I say, I really don't think it can create the finished product. And I think people will become complacent and think, let's just stick that out. And it would, if you did create a prompt that could create one LinkedIn post that worked, doesn't mean you can keep on using that same one. And that's why I kind of dodged out the way of this for this. So I would say ChatGPT can really help you write LinkedIn posts, but it can't do everything for you. It can get everything together to make it a lot easier. So this is, where are we? So let's just skip to, establishing your tone of voice. So this is a bit of an introduction. So one of the main things is that ChatGPT, that people say, it doesn't sound anything like me. So of course it doesn't, because like we've just said, we're really terrible at describing our own tone of voice. Even experienced marketers come out with those same words, that same professional, warm, knowledgeable, or they say, I want to sound like Apple. That same thing keeps on coming up. So what you need to do is train it in the way that it would understand. So this prompt here, so it's quite a long prompt. This goes through, there's quite a lot there, but it's got, so the red bits are the bits that you need to replace. So what it does first, and I've worked on this for many, many hours, and I pasted it and tried it with colleagues, and until I was really, really happy with the results. And it took a long time, but I think I got there in the end, and tried it with lots of different versions, and people are very happy with what's come up. So act as a LinkedIn ghostwriter and content marketing specialist with extensive experience and then you insert your industry. Industry in location. I feel like your industry is going to start to give it the context. Location is going to start to tell it what sort of spellings to use as well. Although I found from the UK, it does default to US a lot. So you kind of have to keep on tweaking it back. We haven't got custom instructions yet. Apparently it's coming out soon. So I'm absolutely dying for that.
I didn't know it was delayed over there.
Yeah, it has been delayed. I've been chomping at the bit to try and get it. So you're known for producing excellent tone of voice guides, particularly those for use with ChatGPT. And then I may, so this is the character section here that I was referring to. I may, and then you insert your job title at A, and then you give the company type. It doesn't matter what the name of your company, that's not going to help it. But I think, again, you could go so much more detail with this, but I try to keep it to a page. So that's the character. So you've told it who it is and who you are. You've been tasked with building a LinkedIn tone of voice guide for me, built specifically for using with generative AI tools such as ChatGPT. So it's not necessarily just for ChatGPT, it could be others. It needs to be concise but accurate and contain everything a tool like this would need to know to produce copy in the same tone of voice as me. So this section, I kind of say the same thing twice, and I find that tends to help sometimes when there's something that potentially is ambiguous, say it again in a slightly different way, and it kind of makes it go, right, it's definitely this. So that's the kind of context section. I'm going to provide you with 10 examples of successful posts by pasting them below. So something that people might not have, I found this is a LinkedIn post one, and maybe if you're just starting out with LinkedIn, you might not have 10 LinkedIn posts. You could use, because this is tone of voice, this isn't necessarily structured. It'd be great if it was yours, and it works ideally if it is yours. But if there's a LinkedIn post writer that you really like, then you could probably steal some of their post structures, or you could switch this whole thing into more of an email thing, so act as an email ghostwriter and paste in some of your longer emails. So the idea is going to get your tone of voice, and that could be then translated to other types of copy. So for me, I'm on LinkedIn all the time. I have been for years, so I've got tons and tons of posts. So I just pasted or cut and pasted the longer text ones so you can read the images. So then I give it the task. So you're going to A, read and absorb each of the post examples. B, pay particular attention to the tone of voice, structure and style of each post. C, find patterns within them to determine the above. And D, create a well-structured, accurate and useful tone of voice guide. And then I say what I'm going to do with it. So this tone of voice guide will then be pasted into ChatGPT prompts to help me draft posts much more quickly. The guide should be produced in Markdown just because I think it looks pretty. If there's anything else you need to know from me to complete this job to the best of your ability, ask now. If not, please let me know you understand my instructions and tell me you're ready for my 10 post examples. So that way, if there's anything it's unsure of with the red bits that you've changed, it might say, oh, can I clarify you're in this industry, or what does that industry do? So it's that kind of model guided prompting of asking you questions. Then if it's all happy, it will just say, yes, I'm ready. And then you insert your 10 post examples, you just paste them in. So that's the prompt. And I can actually show you the result if you'd like. I just need to share a different.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. This is a really long prompt. And I also noticed you use please and thank you.
I would do, yeah. I'm scared if when the robots come together, so I feel like they'll remember I was polite.
Yeah, no, I think that's really funny. A lot of people ask, should you be polite to AI? And so I read some of this, a little bit of a joke, but someone said, I just like to say please and thank you just in case the robots invade.
That's it, yeah.
I've always been the nice one.
Yeah. Whenever I write anything negative about AI, I just think, oh God, what if they're
no, but this is really cool. So of course we definitely want to see that answer, but just really quick, how did you come up with this? Like, this is very detailed, from the very beginning. It's the act role, as you mentioned, it's like act as X, Y, and Z, and then you're giving also yourself your role of like, this is who I am. Mm-hmm. And then after that, you're pretty much saying like, and I like how you said you have to like double repeat the task, because what you're doing is you're kind of like really reiterating like, this is the priority, this is what we're going to focus on.
Yes.
Yeah. And then after that, you mentioned, it's like, this is what you wanted to do, like A, B, C, and D. And then how you want your output in the form of Markdown, you mentioned. And at the end, it was all about understanding the assignment. So when you put together this whole prompt, how did you get there from like the typical general person that's saying, write me a blog post and that's the prompt?
I think the way I thought about it was because, I was a copywriter for a while and I was thinking of the best possible briefs. So when I've got a team of 30 writers that I work with a lot, and actually this resembles, say if I have a new writer and they're new to a project, it resembles kind of how I describe a task for them. So it's kind of every detail. I can't expect them to read my mind. And that's how I just thought of every possible thing, no ambiguity, total clarity as to context and purpose, and then just saying, look, if you have any problems, please ask. I don't want you to just guess, or in this case, hallucinate. So that's where I got the initial structure from. And I learned more about, obviously, you wouldn't say to a person, act as a LinkedIn ghostwriter. Hopefully you've hired a LinkedIn ghostwriter for this job. But I think it really does help. So as I say, yeah, so it resembles our copywriting. I keep on going to say prompts, our copywriting briefs. I think we're going to end up swapping those two words around, but briefs and prompts are really similar. Yeah,
that's really good. So basically treat your prompt like a brief.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, think of every possible way that they could misunderstand. I don't think there's anything, here you are ghostwriter, I am this is your specific task, this is your task in a different way, just in case you didn't understand that. Very clear sections for the task. If you don't understand, ask. I think that's it. That's strong. And yeah, it works. It produces something very accurate. And so I think it is worth the detail in that case.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, this is really good. And also one thing I'll mention is that I have seen some people that like when they're writing this prompt, like for example, you're writing in English, everything is very well understood. Some people will also say, give me the result in English. And there's also like this thing to like just keep in mind that when you're speaking to it in a language, you don't have to like confuse it and tell it to talk back in a certain language. It will know how to do that. Yeah. Unless you're actually trying to get something written in a different language. But I think that's also worth mentioning. Like sometimes just because people say it on like Reddit or whatever, sometimes it doesn't all necessarily belong in a prompt.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, this is really cool. This is really helpful. And do you mind showing the example of like what happened?
There we go. Okay, so this is this same prompt here. It's showing up on tiny, so I'm really leaning forward. It's I need to get glasses. So you can see that I've replaced little bits here. So I'm director of a demand and lead generation agency, marketing industry in the UK. So those red bits that I'd highlighted are all replaced now. And you can see at the bottom, I have, so actually with this one, I'm just trying to move a screenshot there. So actually, there's a little bit that I've gone wrong there. So if there's anything else you need to know, I've gone straight into posting my examples. I've just realised that on this. So I would normally just wait at that point. But yes, I've done this before. I think I just went straight into it. So here I've posted my 10 posts. You can see post 1 there. I just separate there, post 2. So there's an awful lot of copy there. If you have maybe 3 posts, you can still do it with that. I just found 10 doesn't take too long, and it gives sufficient detail as well. So this is what you get here. So LinkedIn tone of voice guides built specifically for use with generative AI tools such as ChatGPT. So yeah, it gives you everything there. So you've got tone of voice and characteristics, which I think are really, really accurate, and it's better than I could have described myself. And that's the whole point of this. So the way I'll write on LinkedIn is very different to the way I'll write on email. I'd say 13 years in legal, I'm very corporate on emails. I try to shake it off, but it's just old habits die hard. I also can't write a full stop without two spaces straight afterwards as well. It's just inbuilt into me. But yeah, relatable and casual, authentic and transparent, informed and value-driven. Maybe wouldn't pair some of these up, but engaging and encouraging interaction, and enthusiastic and passionate. I definitely get called enthusiastic a lot throughout my life. So it gives you the kind of tone of voice characteristics, its structural elements. So it starts to tell you the type of things that you do quite regularly within your posts. So I do clear call outs. So starting with an engaging question or a statement to grab attention. So it shows me that my hooks are kind of quite clear. A use of emojis. I sprinkle them throughout. Although as anybody who's tried to make LinkedIn posts using ChatGPT will know, it will just plonk them everywhere. And yeah, there's no real rhyme or reason to it. List format, that's something I use a lot. Strong call to action, hashtags and mentions as well. And then stylistic flair. So it just says a few things that I tend to do. And again, bang on. So bold statements and reveals. I occasionally use shock or surprise to draw the reader in, which I do. I try to do that as much as I can. Personal anecdotes, very much. Community involvement, very much as well. I give a lot away for free. Occasional humour, but not too many times. And data driven. I try to back my statements up with data and statistics. So it's so perceptive from those posts that I've got. And then it's just given a few other tips for ChatGPT because it knows that's when I'm going to learn it. So start with a hook or question, follow with personal experiences, offer actionable insights or resources, and conclude with a strong CTA. Then add relevant hashtags and mentions where possible. So it's actually given a little template as well. I didn't ask it to do this, but it created this little template, which I actually think would be really quite useful. It's giving it a little bit of code. So hook or engaging question about AI. I remember when I insert personal anecdote. Here's what I learned. A couple of lessons, tool or resource, and then an engaging wrap-up question. And these are the 3 hashtags I use all the time. So actually, that is a very realistic structure for my LinkedIn posts, which I think was really strong. And then that's it. Just gives that final. I always think this final paragraph is a bit pointless, but yes, that's the result that it gives. So I think I was really pleased with that because then I can just copy paste that, and I'm going to get much more accurate results when I create posts.
Wow, this is amazing. And, usually the question that I hear all the time also is, and I don't know if you have an answer to this, but now that you have this information, where do you store this? How do you organize yourself?
Yeah, well, you actually see, I've been trying a few different tools. So there's a little thing up here, like a folder that isn't working at the moment. So I'm trying to find these little grouping things. So this looked amazing. I can't remember what it was called. I think it was just like ChatGPT groups or something. And it did have on the demo loads of different colors. I think it's down at the moment. It's going to come up, and you can kind of keep your different prompts in different colors. But what I mainly do now is I will just cut and paste this into a Word document, a G-Doc. Or I love now the ability to send it. Where is it? To get the shared link to chat, and then I can just hyperlink it. I love that. It saves so much time. So I'll just copy that again onto a G-Doc and just have a little sections. I'm very manual with that type of thing, and just say, right, this these are some examples of this is some tone of voice ones, and kind of store them that way, because there is just, when you start to just go through, there's just so many different things.
There's so many. And I think that's also a really good thing to mention, because I also do the same. I also save them in Google Docs, and sometimes what I do, I'll turn them also into like workflows, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, this is the SOP for this, and then the prompt just gets stored as part of the SOP.
Yeah.
What do you think, like, I know ChatGPT has been on the news recently because of all the updates, and some people were saying that it dropped like 100 IQ points and whatever the case is. What do you do, or how do you like iterate your prompts or the outputs whenever it's kind of going through those, whenever it's not giving you like the best result? Like, let's say in the tone of voice one, it was very clear, it was amazing. But what if it gave you something more generic? What would you do?
I think iteration. I think people think it's a one prompt thing. Every single thing that you do needs to have constructive criticism. So it's kind of, I treat it again like an assistant that's really enthusiastic and really knowledgeable. And when they're on a good day, wow, they're better than you could ever be. But they also are sometimes quite I don't know, sometimes they really struggle to understand. So I kind of try and give polite but constructive feedback. So kind of, I really like this bit, but I didn't like this bit, or I expected, sometimes a little bit meaner, but I expected this and I didn't get that, or this is not at all what I was looking for. I was looking for something more like this. And that iteration, I find it responds so well. And so like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'll try this again. And you get all these different versions. So it's polite back to you.
Yeah. Yeah, it apologizes. Oops. Yeah. Sorry, that's not what I meant. Okay, yeah. I mean, this is really important, right? It's and I'm glad you bring this up, because it's not necessarily like you get your output and you're done and you call it a day. It's like, it's this tool that you can talk back to, and it'll respond back, and you can engage in conversation. And I think that that's also like one of the things of how when I started getting into prompt engineering and all of this. It was like every thought that I had, I would just like go on ChatGPT. The prompt didn't have to be perfect every single time. It was like, here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm working on. And then just by talking to it, it was like I was getting so much more insight. That's a really good point to bring up. When you think about like this new era that we're stepping into, where a lot of businesses are onboarding AI into their business, what do you think are some like do's and don'ts, or like just what are some best practices to bring AI into the business?
I think so many people that we're experiencing AI tool overwhelm, aren't we? There every single day, even for people like us who are completely immersed in it and working in it. It is absolutely overwhelming. So I had 2 days off last week, and I came back just thinking, how am I going to catch up with everything that's happened? And I never feel like I am. I always feel like I'm 10 steps behind. So I think not focusing on all the different new things, focus on your pains and problems first. Like all good marketing, it's what's the problem? So just have a look at map out your processes, just literally get a pen and paper, get a Miro board, whatever you want, and look at your processes and try and find the weak spots. So where are you? For my business, it was, we're all doing too much admin. We're skilled people, we're a small team, and we're doing admin that could be automated, and we could easily double in size without recruiting anybody else if our admin was reduced. So that's one of the big things for me. And I was thinking, right, where do I start with that? Hence, starting with tools like the calls transcription tools like Sybil, Otter, Fireflies. That immediately made us much more. That took, if it's 1 hour for me, it's like 3, 4, 5 hours for the team. That's a great first step. And then you think, right, now what else can I do with this? And a lot of those tools have features, you get to know them and then they evolve. So they might have kind of email follow-up tools as well. And you think, okay, then. So another thing for me, pain, was the email inbox, struggling with that. Again, 2 days away, coming back to 250 emails, and they all need responses. So I'm yet to find something particularly great. I've tried a few. So Sanebox, I found that pretty good, but I kind of lost it a little bit. I've tried Superhuman recently as well, which is like a speed going through your inbox. And yeah, some things are sticking, some things aren't. So I think that sort of demonstrates the process, is just try a few things. So find your pain, and then look for the solutions. I do think there's a real gap in the market for tried and tested AI tools, that sort of a trusted site where you go on and you see real reviews of AI tools, because I think 99% of them are amazing landing pages, and you think, this is going to solve all my problems, and then you download it, or you get the extension, and it's rubbish. And it's not rubbish. It's in beta, isn't it? It's, things are still, they're taken to market so quick nowadays. It's sort of rigorously testing things, but also keeping things aside. So when you do find a tool that could be great, keeping a separate list of those tools, because check back in 3 months and that problem that you had is probably fixed and it might well be usable now. So that's what I'm doing. I've got like a Notion board to kind of keep track of those.
Yeah, this is a really interesting thing. There's a lot of tools out there, and I agree with you. It's like they have a really big promise, and then when you get into it, it's like, well, wait a minute, what happened here? But again, it's because everything is happening. Like, I think on the news they're calling it like a tsunami of AI apps, because everything just went into like no code and super easy to launch. Now, let me ask you a question around that. Like, there's a lot of people that have fear around privacy issues, ethics, bias, and all of that comes with AI. What are your thoughts for like, business owners or even marketers when you're onboarding AI into like your marketing stack and all of this? How do you tackle those issues?
I think it's a really big problem. So these huge tools, and your data isn't private, and I think it's so dodgy anyway. Even when they say it's private, I wouldn't entirely trust that it is. So I think you've got to be super careful. I've been looking into synthetic data recently. So I found that a really interesting idea, that you have a sensitive set of data set, and you have this big, say, a spreadsheet of people's names and addresses. Say you're in legal and it's loads of details of accidents or something like that. And then you upload it to these synthetic data sites, which are, assuredly private, and they will give you like a synthetic version of that same data with the same patterns in. And then you can upload that data into ChatGPT, play around with it on Code Interpreter, that type of thing. And then you're safe, because it's dummy data, but you can still get the same outputs and still see the same patterns. People from place A. I haven't used it yet, so I'm trying to kind of get my head around how it would possibly work. But I feel like that's a temporary measure, a temporary fix to the problem. Security needs to be sorted. I totally understand. I work with a lot of law firms, and they are so resistant to using these things, because as soon as they start to do a risk assessment, they just go, well, it's not safe at all to put any of our data in here. It's a problem.
Yeah, especially with lawyers. And also, I don't know if you saw this, but there was a lawyer that used ChatGPT, and they got like a fake stat, and then they used it in the courtroom. Like all over the place.
Lazy. He's so lazy to not even check.
Yeah, it's a huge issue. I think that this is it's something good to bring up and talk about, but it's something that I have discovered there's like two workarounds. Like, the first workaround is you either just have someone actually like custom build your own ecosystem, your own AI for your business or whatever, and it's like safeguarding your data. The other thing that I have found, and it might still require a little bit of a little bit more human interaction, but just generalizing. So if you like take out all the sensitive data from there and just generalize it, that also can be like a workaround for now, at least.
Yeah, and numbers on their own have no context. They're just numbers. I think if you could just be clever, I'd need to kind of speak to a data science person to see. But yeah, I feel like that's, and like you say, that people building their own. So Allen and Overy, massive law firm, they've got Harvey GPT now, and that is something their own one. They call it Harvey after Suits as well, which I thought was quite funny. But yeah, they've got their own ChatGPT, so they've got their own private version. I think that's where it, like you say, I think that's where it's going to go. People are going to have their own private and GPT. You can set yourself up at the moment. You can do, there's a chatfast, I think, .io that set your own up, but I still don't think that's necessarily private, because you're training the data on their site. So I feel like they still have access to it, and what are they going to do with it? Will they sell it later on? But I do think you were talking about before, in a year's time, I think we will start to see small businesses and enterprise businesses and everything in between having their own version of this, their own private version. And imagine that, for somebody who's a new employee on the first day, and they just, and you don't want to ask all the questions from somebody, you could just ask questions of this whatever form it may take. It might be a really realistic video by that point, who knows? And that person, that robot, not person, can help you and answer all the questions that you'd normally ask people, probably more accurately than the person would answer it as well, because it will be trained on SOPs and policies and all these details. And I just feel like there's so many things that could change in all different sizes of business. But for me, small businesses could radically change because we can move so fast as well.
Absolutely. And because small businesses don't have a lot of decision makers, you'll be able to also make those decisions a lot faster.
Yeah.
This is actually really interesting. This is kind of getting into like the future of the workplace. But now that you mentioned that, I did actually come across a startup that reached out to me recently, and basically they're putting like real robot avatar, like AI avatars in Zoom rooms so that they can assist on the call. And it's like already trained on all the product knowledge. So it's like, I do think that this is like the future. We're going to start coexisting and really interacting. Right now we're seeing like ChatGPT and its text back and forth. Yep. But who knows, maybe 6 months from now or a year from now, it's actually like avatars in our Zooms, and who knows?
And it'll be us as well. There's something I just saw on Twitter just before this call, actually, and he'd cloned himself, and his voice is cloned. I recently cloned my voice, actually, and it made me so much more posh. It took away my accent, and I've got a thick Birmingham accent, which I think is voted one of the worst UK accents, and it made me like I was from London, like I'd gone to a much better school. I did not go to a good school, so it's kind of, it has that bias. It kind of removes accents, and we also know that it westernizes people as well, visually. So that bias you were talking about as well is very much present. So that's something to be aware of too.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Well, Heather, thank you so much for being here. So kind of just to like recap a little bit, I mean, we have literally talked about everything from, what makes AI such a big shift in our generation to capitalize on. Then we dived into like how you got started with AI, prompt engineering, some prompt examples. And then now we just started talking about the future of the workplace and how to bring AI into it. This is super amazing and very, very informative and educational. Is there anything that we might have missed that you would also like to, any like last thoughts that you'd like to share?
I think, to be honest, like you say, we've covered absolutely everything, haven't we? It's just, I think one thing I'd like to share is when you create ChatGPT content, and I see it over and over again, edit it, fact check it, because it hallucinates, it lies, and people are getting very complacent with that. And I really worry about misinformation. And people are just going to have these false facts and hallucinated facts and start believing them. And so fact check everything. I think there's going to be a lot of room in the world as well because you're going to have, as a separate thing, you've started me off now. You're going to have all these, like you say, these avatars that are perfection. So they will not make mistakes. So I think actually there's going to be a big rise in more human content. So the fact that, when I present, I talk about my dog barked in the middle. I don't know whether you heard. That would never happen in an AI version of this. And I think those idiosyncrasies and the events that happen that are just human and cannot be predicted by an AI are going to be much more valued in the future as well. So, people with accents, people with a squeaky chair, or people who make mistakes when they talk, I think that is going to become more and more valuable as we go forward. So just being human in the face of AI is really important. Wow,
that is really important to remember. And also for anyone that is having fear about this whole AI wave, humans aren't going anywhere. Well, Heather, where can people find you? Are you on any social media platforms?
LinkedIn. That's I live on LinkedIn from 5 a.m. till I go to sleep at night. So LinkedIn is the one for me. Yeah.
Amazing. And if anyone wants to access this guide that you shared, where can they go to find that?
Yeah, if they go onto my profile, just on my featured section, it's right there.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Well, I'll make sure that we get your LinkedIn and we'll put it somewhere in the show notes. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today, and thank you everyone for watching the AI Marketing Show, and today's episode was about prompt engineering for marketers. Thank you.